everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pundit Media TV. Joe Chambers, aka Joe with the Cleats, your host here, and we're gonna get into pretty much what happened yesterday and what's been going on in the NBA playoffs. So, as far as yesterday goes, we're based in the New York area, although we cover sports all across the states. But to start off, Jets and the Giants for the 0-2. Jets and the Giants both have second-year quarterbacks, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold. So, whenever you get two guys that's coming into the league, there's always going to be a learning curve that you're going to have to go through. I like Sam Darnold and the way he looks. Also, Daniel Jones. People don't give him enough credit, but I understand when you come in to replace Eli Manning, who has, given the team 2 Super Bowls. There's a lot to bring to the table because that's what they're expecting. But as far as just intangibles and skills, I think he's better than what most people give him credit for. You need the weapons around him, though. Nonetheless, they're both 0-2. And they took a real big loss yesterday with Saquon Barkley with a torn ACL, and he's out for the year. So that now is going to definitely put them behind the 8 ball. A lot of Giant fans are pretty much writing this season off. But, you keep fighting, you keep building. You get out there, you play, you never know what can happen, especially in the NFC East. It's going to be real close with all those teams. No one team is a clear out front runner. You may have a team who looks good on paper, and I think the 2 teams that look good on paper may be the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles. But as you know, with those 2 teams, especially within the first 2 games of this year, you don't know what team's going to show up. Good Philadelphia, good Dallas, and the Washington football team is maybe a dark horse in that division. But the Jets, they also suffered a loss with a hamstring injury from Le'Veon Bell. Although not a season-ending injury, it's still going to set them back a little bit, and it's going to change their offense of what they can or can't do. I believe both of those teams need some kind of a deep threat. There's no real deep threat. Golden Tate is a good wide receiver. He's from a Pro Bowler. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's a Super Bowl winner with the Seahawks. But I mean, like a real, stud at the wide receiver position who teams have to game plan for in order to make them a formidable foe. Eli had Plexico Barris during that Super Bowl run, and they had, good wide receivers in between then. Also, obviously, with Odell Beckham, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl with Odell, but he was a weapon for Eli Manning. So the Jets and the Giants, both New York teams, New York, city teams are struggling, but it's early in the season. Who knows what could happen? But that's a real big loss for the New York Giants to lose Saquon Barkley for the year. A few weeks, you can still weather the storm, right? You can right the ship until they come back. But for the whole year to be gone, that's tough for the New York Giants fans and for Saquon Barkley. I know he's been waiting a long time to get back into the fold of things. So to get injured this, early in the year, it's got to be tough for him. The Dallas Cowboys came back from a 20-0 deficit against the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons are a great team offensively. Now I'm not sure so much defensively, but on the offensive side, they definitely have a lot of talent to give you a headache and to run for your money, which is why they turned out to a 20-0 lead. But it doesn't help also for Dallas fans that you turn the ball over, I believe, 3 times in the first half. They was up 20-0 in the first quarter. That's unacceptable. But they showed tenacity, they showed wit, and they just kept coming and kept pushing. And the Atlanta Falcons definitely made their mistakes, even though they didn't have any turnovers. But you keep giving the team chances to come back, and you don't keep the score running up. Not running up the score, but just, you don't keep scoring the football. You're just giving them time, to get back into the situation, get back into the game. And that's what the Cowboys did. They got some key stops when they needed to. Dak Prescott did a good job passing the ball and running the ball in the red zone, running for 3 touchdowns. That's a great feat. It's never been done. It's the first quarterback in history to have a 400-yard passing game and run for 3 touchdowns. Of course, Zeke got in there, ran for a touchdown, the first touchdown of the game for the Cowboys. Also fumbled it leading to them to score. So he has to clear that up. You don't want to keep fumbling, turning the ball over, because then the turnovers leading to what it led to, which was the Cowboys being down 20-0. And they was able to kick the onside kick, recover it, and kick a long field goal for the win with time running out. So, it shows real close how it shows. It's real easy. It shows how the Cowboys could have been 2-0 if they would have get that first win in the season, which was there for them to get. It just shows also how funny football is. In the close game, teams can't get it done, but then you could be down 20-0 and wind up winning the game by 1 with a field goal with time running out. And it also shows how important field goal kickers are. I know they're not athletes, they don't get the limelight or the big contracts, but they could be the deciding factor between losing the game and winning the game. 49ers lost. They won the game, but they lost 4 players, I believe, in the first half alone. Key guys, not just guys on the team. You lose Nick Bosa, Garoppolo. Those are huge losses to the football team, but they were still able to overcome it. And that team alone had about 4 players lost. But the league itself, I think it was about 8 or 9 players, I think, were lost. I don't know if for the year or not, but just nonetheless injured. And they didn't return to the game, if I'm not mistaken. And when you have this year with this quarantine and COVID that's been going on, it changed a lot of things as far as training camp goes, the off season. They didn't get the regular time that they get to train. Of course, they train themselves. They should be training themselves, going to the gym, working out, stretching, whatever, it is that you do on your off time. But it's nothing like game. You can't manufacture game time and game speed and what it takes in the football game. Maybe with scrimmages and preseason, that can help. But obviously there was no preseason this season. So that's why you have a lot of players getting hurt yesterday that maybe normally wouldn't have gotten hurt, at least this early in the season. A lot of hamstring pulls. ACLs, I guess, can happen at any point of the year. But I think the lack of preseason and training camp, contributed to a lot of these players going down. 4 for San Francisco, and around the league, about 8 or 9 notable players have, gotten hurt this year. So, and hopefully this doesn't continue on as the year goes on and players get into shape to start working into things. But as of right now, the COVID-19 is definitely showing this effect on the game of football as of yet. The Sunday night showdown was what everybody had expected. Cam Newton with his new team. The Patriots still high off his Week 1 win. And Russell Wilson with the Seahawks. We know what he can do and the stud he's been since he's been in the league. 2 black quarterbacks, notable quarterbacks, top quarterbacks going against each other head to head was definitely something to watch, and it shows that, the old stigmas of these guys are only athletic, they can only run the football, is not the case. Both these guys had a good game passing the ball, and they're athletic, they're athletically gifted. So of course they're going to use their feet to get touchdowns or to scramble and extend plays so wide receivers can get open and they can get the ball to these guys so they can score. And it was just a great game to watch. It was looking like the Seahawks were pulling away in the beginning of the second half, but Cam Newton, as talented as he is, got these guys back in the game. And with, I believe it was 3 seconds left, they're right there in the red zone, 1 yard line, knocking on the door to get a chance to win. They didn't, Seattle came up with a huge stop when Cam tried to run it in for the touchdown. But, you can't really fault Cam Newton. It was a great game. He was distributing the football the way he can. But from the 1 yard line, I mean, it's a high probability you have Cam Newton, you can get yourself a score. He's not your typical quarterback. He's not Drew Brees in the sense of, 6 feet and small, no real weight or muscle on him. Cam Newton's a big guy. He's almost the size of a linebacker. So it might be your best option when you got a guy like that in the red zone to try to, get it in there, run it in. But It was a great game. Left the fans, well, the fans at home because there's no fans in the stadium, but the fans that were home, it left us pleased because it was a great game. It wasn't a blowout. Both those guys came to play and they both put up, but obviously one team has to lose. And the next order of business, same sport as Tom and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get their first win. I don't think Tom Brady is gonna be losing games, left and right. Everybody feels he was a victim, not a victim, a product of the system. I think they went hand in hand. Tom Brady won a lot of games with no name or average receivers and players. The only weapon he had was Randy Moss, and they lost in the Super Bowl. Now they had Gronk. Gronk is definitely a weapon, but when you think about how long Tom's been there, 20 years, and talent who's been surrounded around him offensively, because early on, defensively, I think they definitely had the stout defense. Willie McGinnis, Richard Seymour, Ronnie Harrison, Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, the early years. As the years go on, they have to flex and certain things. They couldn't sign certain guys the way they wanted to because they spent money elsewhere. But they always had serviceable defensive players. On the offensive side, not so much. It's not get it twisted. You got Julian Edelman, Wes Welkers. These guys are good receivers. I'm talking about game breakers such as a Randy Moss, who can just break a game open and you have the game plan for. Edelman, I think Edelman and Welker were actually products of the system. Tom Brady and Belichick made the system. So we'll see how things go with the Patriots moving forward. As you can see, with Cam Newton, it brings a different dynamic to the team. I'm not sure if the system, quote unquote, is going to work out the same with Cam Newton because with Tom, it's to get rid of the ball fast, get it to your guys that are open, even though that's obviously the idea of a quarterback is to get it to the open guy. But when you got a guy like Cam Newton who can make plays with his feet and extend plays longer than the Tom can, you don't have to necessarily say, okay, let's dink and dunk. We have a guy who can get out of the pocket and get guys downfield to make big plays. And it also masks any kind of deficiencies you have with the offensive line. So the offensive line breaks down, is not able to protect as best as they can. Cam Newton can get out of dodge and get the ball downfield, whereas Tom had to really pretty much get the ball out of his hands really, really quick. And very seldomly did he make a pass downfield because he had to have that time to get the ball downfield. If he's not given time, then you see Tom Brady start to see ghosts and he starts flinching a bit more, getting rid of the ball fast, getting antsy with his feet, throwing the ball out of bounds. So we'll see how things go. But so far, 1-1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As time goes on, we'll see how much Tom Brady actually has left in the tank. Yesterday, they beat the Carolina Panthers. Not so much of a threat offensively. I think the defense is pretty stout. But nonetheless, they got their win. And then you had the Chiefs and the Chargers. I think that game was more close than a lot of people would expect it to be. Patrick Mahomes had a pedestrian game for his standards. The Chargers, they didn't know what to expect from their quarterback. The guy's 6'6", 240, I believe. Physically, that's a real problem at the quarterback position. He appears to have a good arm, and he also has a task of following in the footsteps of a Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, although was not a Super Bowl winner, or has not been a Super Bowl winner, definitely hasn't won, obviously, during his stint with the Chargers. But doesn't mean that this guy is not a future Hall of Fame quarterback. He's put up some great numbers. He knew that offense, and anytime you have a quarterback for more than 10, 15 years, that pretty much is the team is a reflection of the quarterback. And for you to have to come follow up in the shadows of that is a tall task because now they want you to have that same talent and same command of the team. But I've only seen him play one game. He played 2 games so far this season. I've only seen one, being the region that I'm in. But it was a joy to watch. He brought his, but at the Chiefs at the end of the day, won the game, but it took them to have to go to overtime. So it wasn't a walk in the park for the Chiefs by no means. So they were definitely tested early on in the season. And when you were the Super Bowl champion, you become the hunted. So now teams get up more and they get hyped to go play you because they feel if they beat you, then they have that championship caliber or pedigree that they can go toe-to-toe and be in contention. So the Chargers, even though they lost the game, definitely won it morally because I know that they feel not that they could compete with pretty much anybody. If you could compete with a team like the Kansas City Chiefs who are vastly talented on the offensive end. Defensively also, but we all know that that team rolls with the offense and what the quarterback can do with Patrick Mahomes. And moving on, switching now to the basketball side of things, Los Angeles Lakers, they're up 2-0 against the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets, I believe, have had a great postseason. They went to 2 Game 7s against the Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Clippers. That means took a lot out of them. Those teams were good, but those teams are not the Lakers. They don't have a LeBron James. People felt, Kawhi was or is better than LeBron James. I think Kawhi is immensely talented. I believe he brings a lot to the table. I love his poker face because you can't read him. You really don't see when he's frustrated or when he's doing good. You can't really tell just by facial expressions. But in the last series, I did see some signs from Kawhi that he did get frustrated with things that were going on. And because it's a new team. You went with Toronto, you won there, you was the top guy, you was the only guy. You had good players around you, of course, to win the championship. But now the stakes are more higher with the Clippers, ironically as it sounds. But that's because you're on the team with Paul George, so you have a solid number 2 running mate, and you're the defending champion. So now all the pressure's on you. You with the Los Angeles Clippers, so it's going to be a rival with the Lakers for for that building, the Staples Center. But it's not really much of a rivalry. The Los Angeles Lakers own LA. It's just the way it is. I don't really care how good the Clippers were doing, which is why I called it before the postseason started. We have to wait and see how this formulates and how it translates to playoff basketball. Series you can look good, during the season you can look good, but during a playoff series you're facing the team 4 times at the very least. They're able to game plan for only you. No matter if you switch up or you adjust, they can still game plan. They know who they're going to face. They're rested. And I think the Clippers just didn't have what it takes, and the Denver Nuggets got the best of them because, Lou Williams didn't want to come to the bubble. Patrick Beverly is good defensively, not so much offensively. And it wasn't really, I think, synced in. And that's why Denver Nuggets as a team got the best of them. But Denver Nuggets had to go to 2 Game 7s, and that took a lot out of them, and they don't have enough for the Los Angeles Lakers. Granted, both of these games were close. I'm not saying that Lakers came in and they, washed them up, but the pedigree of LeBron, who was able to galvanize it and lead his other players towards a right mental path, along with Rajon Rondo. I don't think people are really talking too much about Rondo or considering the fact that Rondo's pedigree with the Boston Celtics. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes. And he's able to switch the game to a different tempo and not just be up and down, which gives LeBron James a lot more rest so he can do and close and do the things that he can. And Rondo knows how to get the ball to guys. Whether it's to Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Dwight Howard, for alley-oops, he's definitely a floor general. He just made it to 10th all time in assists in the playoffs. That's no small feat when you think about the guys who have been in this league. Anthony Davis hit the game-winning 3. Anthony Davis, so far the first 2 games, have played a phenomenal game, and that's why I said it came down to Nikola and Anthony Davis's game, which is going to dictate how this series goes. And so far, Anthony Davis has been just a bit better than the Joker, and this is why we have these 2 games. His ability to hit the 3 ball, Anthony Davis, is an added weapon for the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's what got them to win the game too. Plain and simple. The other guys, the other team, the other series that's going on is the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. Miami Heat is up 2-1 in the series. A big Game 3 win from Jason Tatum and the Celtics to keep them in the series. You don't want to go down 3 games to nothing. It's a bigger hole to dig yourself out of. Then 2-1, 2-1. Now you know you're still in it. You win the game tonight, next game, and now it's a tie series. Here we go again. It's back to 0-0, back to 0-0. Everybody's equal. So the Boston Celtics have some work to do, but they helped themselves tremendously with the Game 3 win. They have the talent to win, and I think the series is pretty much fair matched. Both of these teams have good players. Of course, Jimmy Butler is the star of Miami, but there's a lot of other guys who are definitely chiming in and helping Jimmy Butler be able to, lead the Miami Heat to get these wins. And the same goes with the Boston Celtics. You have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They're leading the way, but you have guys like Marcus Smart, whose contribution is nothing to sneeze at or nothing to unappreciate. He's bringing you toughness. He's bringing you defense. He's bringing you the ability to also bring the ball down the court and get the ball to the right guys that need the ball in game-winning situations and scoring situations. So I think the Boston Celtics are going to make it interesting for the Miami Heat, and we'll see who winds up getting through the series and into the finals. I think as far as in the West goes, I don't think Denver will get swept, but I think the Los Angeles Lakers will emerge out of that series. Now, as far as Boston and Miami, I really don't know. It's really a toss-up as to who can make it, because I think they're evenly matched. They both have role players who are helping tremendously, and they both have guys who can get their own buckets and score. So I think it's going to be a game of momentum, energy, and it's crazy because there's no fans in the stadium. So to get momentum is just really like raw momentum. It's kind of like when you go back to when you were growing up and you just play ball, whether it was a full court game and there's no fans there. It's just you and just the team running up and down court, and you get some defensive stops, some rebounds, saves, some hustle points, and then that starts to work in your favor, and you just feed off the energy from your own teammates. The same as football, just watching it with no fans in the stadium. I know these guys have to feel how they felt, not even in high school football, in backyard football. Just gathering up your friends, you're going to the park, and you're just out there playing in the grass, so there's no fans rooting you on, there's no cheerleaders, it's just your teammates against the other team, and you feed off each other, and that's as wholesome as it could get when it comes to both these sports, because you're making the money you're making, but at this point, it doesn't feel like you are, because you're just out there with your team, no fans are cheering you on. They have the crowd noise that they pump into the stadiums. Maybe that works for us because it allows us to feel like we're just watching a regular game. But to them, they know what's up. You in the stadium, you can see that there's no fans there. So you're really feeding off of your own teammates, coaching, and the momentum is raw momentum. As for this episode, that's pretty much all I have, to say tonight. Monday night game, we'll see where that goes. It's the Saints and Raiders. I can't recall where it is. John Gruden has that. The Raiders team is a new DNA and a new culture he's trying to build up. And we know what the Saints bring. Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He has some weapons around him. He was able to get that first win against Tom and the Buccaneers. So people might be swaying towards the Saints. I really don't know where that may go, but I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think the Raiders might get this win tonight against the Saints. We'll see how that goes. But as far as the week roundup, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. That's my take on the things that have happened yesterday on Sunday. And we'll see how the week goes. I have to look up Thursday games, but I'll probably be back with another episode to give you my take on what has happened with this game, the playoff games that's coming up as far as in the NBA bubble, and with my pick of who I think is going to win on the Thursday night game. But everybody, oh yeah, one more thing. Got this Pundit Media shirt. Got some merch coming on the way. So be on the lookout for it soon. I'll update you with how to get these merchandise, where to go, how much, prices, and all those type of things. But once again, Joey the Cleats here. Anybody you disagree or agree with what I said, drop a comment. Let me know how you feel about any of the topics that I've said, whether you agree or disagree. Like, subscribe, comment, all that's welcome, whether you agree or not. Steel sharpens steel. So I have no problem in debating with some of you guys respectfully. Yeah, as humans, we all have difference of opinion, different viewpoints, and that's what this forum is about. So feel free to say anything you would like as far as any of the topics that I've said. But with that said, nice seeing you again. Look forward to another episode. Everybody stay safe, stay quarantined. Godspeed. Be speaking to you soon.